Have you ever noticed how some people light up when they see a dog but seem completely exhausted by human interaction? They'd rather spend their Friday night with their cat than at a party. They trust their pets more than their friends. Meanwhile, others can't imagine life without constant human connection, endless group chats, and weekend plans with people. But here's the question. Why? Why do some people genuinely prefer the company of animals over humans? Is it trauma? Is it misanthropy? Or maybe it's something much deeper in their psychology? Stick with me until the end, because what you'll discover might actually explain why you feel more comfortable around animals than people. For some, the story is simple but heartbreaking. They don't prefer animals because animals are objectively better. They prefer them because humans have failed them too many times. Imagine this: you're younger and you trust easily. You open up to friends, you're vulnerable with family, maybe you fall in love, and then it happens. Betrayal, lies, manipulation. Maybe a best friend spreads your secrets, maybe a partner cheats. Maybe your family dismisses your feelings over and over until you just stop sharing them altogether. Over time, the brain adapts. Psychologists call this a trauma response. It's a protective mechanism where the mind learns to avoid situations that previously caused pain. So eventually, humans become the risk, not because every person is bad, but because your brain has been trained to expect disappointment from them. And here's where animals come in. A dog doesn't lie. A cat doesn't gossip. A pet offers unconditional presence without the complexity of human emotion, without the games, without the fear of abandonment that comes with conditions and expectations. For this group, choosing animals isn't about hating people. It's about protecting a heart that's been broken one too many times. If you expect nothing from humans, they can't hurt you anymore. But a pet is safe, predictable, loyal, and that reliability becomes everything. Then there's another group, the people who aren't running from trauma but from overstimulation. These are the ones who find human interaction mentally exhausting, not because they dislike people, but because people demand so much. Every conversation requires reading between the lines. Every social event comes with unspoken rules. You have to manage tone, interpret facial expressions, navigate egos, remember who's mad at who, and constantly perform emotional labor just to maintain relationships. Psychologists call this social fatigue, and it's especially common in people with high sensitivity or introverted temperaments. For them, a simple coffee with a friend isn't simple at all. It's an entire performance. They have to monitor their words, manage the other person's emotions, and then spend the rest of the day replaying the conversation, wondering if they said something wrong. Now compare that to being with an animal. There's no subtext, no manipulation. No need to decode what the dog really meant when it wagged its tail. The communication is honest and direct. If a cat wants space, it walks away. If a dog is happy, you know it. There's no second guessing, no emotional minefield to navigate. And for people whose brains are already overloaded, that simplicity isn't just refreshing, it's necessary for survival. This is where the psychology gets even more interesting. These people aren't antisocial. They're often deeply empathetic. In fact, studies show that people who prefer animals often score higher on empathy tests than the average person. But their empathy is a double-edged sword. They feel so much from others that human interaction becomes draining because they absorb every emotion in the room. Animals, on the other hand, offer connection without that emotional weight. You can be with them without being drained by them, and that balance for this group, that's where peace lives. And finally, there's a third group. They know humans are complex. They're not avoiding them out of pain or exhaustion. They've simply reached a philosophical conclusion. Humans are conditional, animals are not. Let me explain. In human relationships, love almost always comes with terms. I'll be your friend if you're fun. I'll love you if you're successful. I'll stay close if you meet my expectations. Even in the healthiest relationships, there's an underlying transaction. You give, I give, we maintain balance. But mess up that balance, stop being useful, stop being entertaining, stop fitting the role, and watch how fast people disappear. Now think about a dog. That dog doesn't care if you got promoted or fired. It doesn't care if you gained weight or said the wrong thing at dinner. It loves you when you're crying on the floor at 3 a.m. just as much as it does when you're celebrating a victory. That psychologically is what we call unconditional positive regard, a term from humanistic psychology coined by Carl Rogers. It means being valued simply for existing, not for performing. And for people in this third group, that kind of love, that purity of connection, is something they've rarely, if ever, experienced with humans, so they stop chasing it from people, not out of bitterness, but out of clarity. They've realized that the love they crave, the kind that doesn't waver based on circumstances, that's something animals give freely and humans give rarely. And once you've felt that difference, it's hard to go back. This isn't about hating humanity, it's about valuing authenticity. And for them, animals are simply more authentic. But here's where it gets complicated. Because while this preference for animals often makes perfect sense psychologically, it also comes with a cost. Let's be honest, humans are flawed, yes, but they're also capable of things animals aren't: deep intellectual connection, shared laughter over inside jokes, the kind of vulnerability that comes from being truly seen and understood by someone who knows your history, your fears, your dreams. Animals offer comfort, but they can't challenge you to grow. They can't have philosophical debates with you at midnight. They can't collaborate with you on creative projects or hold you accountable when you're slipping into bad habits. So people who completely withdraw into the world of animals often find themselves in a strange paradox. They're safe, they're comfortable, but they're also, on some level, lonely. Not the surface-level loneliness that comes from being physically alone, but the deeper kind. The kind that comes from never being fully known by another human being. Because as much as a pet can love you, it can't truly know you. Not the way another person can, and this is what psychologists call the cost of self-protection. When you build walls to keep out pain, you also keep out connection. When you choose the simplicity of animals over the complexity of humans, you gain peace, but you lose depth. That doesn't mean it's the wrong choice. For some people, especially those in Group 1 who have been deeply hurt, that trade-off is absolutely worth it. At least for a season, but it's important to acknowledge what's being traded. There's also another layer. Some researchers argue that people who prefer animals aren't actually avoiding humans at all. They're avoiding a specific type of human, the performative ones, the fake ones, the ones who talk but don't listen, the ones who take but don't give, and honestly, that's fair. Because the same people who say, "I prefer my dog to people," are often incredibly loyal to the few humans they do let in. They're not misanthropes. They're just highly selective. They've set a standard and most people don't meet it. Animals do every single time. So what does this all mean? If you're someone who genuinely prefers animals to humans, you probably see yourself in one of these three groups. Maybe you've been hurt and animals feel safer. Maybe you're overstimulated and animals feel simpler. Or maybe you've just reached a point where you value authenticity over performance and animals are the most authentic beings you know. And here's the truth. None of those reasons are wrong. They're all valid responses to the human experience. But they're also worth examining. Because sometimes what starts as protection becomes a prison. Sometimes what starts as preference becomes isolation. And while animals can offer incredible companionship, they can't replace everything humans provide. The key is balance. It's okay to prefer animals. It's okay to find more peace with a dog than in a crowded room. But it's also okay to leave space for humans who earn your trust. The ones who show up. The ones who prove that not everyone will hurt you. The ones who respect your boundaries and love you without conditions. Because the most emotionally mature people aren't the ones who choose animals over humans or humans over animals. They're the ones who have learned to navigate both. They protect their peace, but they don't close themselves off completely. They're selective but not isolated. They've been hurt, but they haven't let that pain decide their entire future. So whether you're scrolling through adoption pages for your third rescue cat, or you're someone who can't understand how anyone would skip a party to stay home with a pet, both reveal something about you. For some, it's about protection. For others, it's about overstimulation. And for many, it's about a deep craving for authenticity in a world that often feels fake. The real question is, which one are you? Are you protecting yourself or are you isolating yourself? Have you found peace or are you just avoiding pain? And is your love for animals adding to your life or replacing parts of it you're too afraid to heal? If this made you think differently about why you connect the way you do, you'll love the other psychology topics we cover here. Hit subscribe so you don't miss the next video. We dive deep into the kind of psychology that actually explains you. See you there.